was nice. I like that. Somebody should sample that. Put that in a track.
Oh, I mean, that was maybe one of the first kind of like random field recording samples I ever used. Like,
it's a can.
2009. It's just such a typical, like, you know.
It's very transient.
Yeah, it's great.
Put a drum bus on that or something.
Yeah.
Sound really fat. Layer on a clap.
Man, I always forget about drum bus. I should use that shit more.
Dude, I feel like you should use whatever you've been using. I feel like your stuff sounds great.
Thank you.
It really does.
Yeah, that's the thing about production is like you get used to whatever tools you like have at your disposal at a certain time. You just kind of like stick with them, or so much has come out since I've, you know, started. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
That's a good phrase.
Yeah.
I feel like I definitely have had some broke tracks that needed fixed.
Oh, I mean, dude, we all have. I even still to this day, I still wind up making kind of weird, shitty mixdowns. Like, even though I've made really good ones in the past, it's like still like you'd think there'd be like a perfect science to it after you've been doing it for so long, but it's not always that way.
Yeah, which is also fun. It's like the most frustrating and fun thing because there's always a new way to do it.
Right. Keeps it interesting. It's spicy.
Yeah, spicy.
Yeah.
Also, our dogs, I think, are doppelgangers. I just wanted to show you this. This is a photo I saw, and I thought this was my dog, but it was on your Instagram. And then, like, this is my dog, Roscoe. Looks so much alike.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, same. Oh, my. Holy shit.
This is him dancing in my living room.
God.
Right?
Yeah, that looks just like Carlito.
It's crazy.
So, wait, so do you know what?
That's what I'm saying, dude.
They are twinsies.
Seriously, doppelganger dogs.
He's got thicker eyebrows.
Yeah, his eyebrows are real thick.
They're girthy.
He's, very defined. He's got a heavy side eye.
Oh, dude, Carlito's got the side eye to fucking kill all side eyes.
No, he definitely does, dude.
Yeah, I'm like, stop looking at me like that.
He's so judgy with his stares when I'm looking at him.
So wait, do you know what type of dog he is? Because I keep meaning to do like a genetic test on mine.
I was going to do that.
One of my best friends randomly Googled Rottweiler and Shepherd mix.
Yes.
And that's like the result, like on Google Images, it's like they look like that.
So I adopted him from the Denver Animal Shelter, which is like a library. That place is so clean and well run. I was really impressed when I was there. I adopted him about 5 months ago. They said he was Australian cattle dog mixed with Rot.
Okay.
So I don't really know. I'm still going to take the test because he's probably just like a mix of like a bunch of things like every American.
Does he have that like herding dog like mannerisms?
100%. He'll herd my whole family at Christmas.
That's so funny. Carlito doesn't do that at all. Yeah.
So you got her in like Mexico or something? Him. Yeah. You got him in Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, well, so like this story you're showing is like I was on a hike between I was in Sayulita, Mexico, and there's another town close by called San Pancho, and there's a hike between the two, and it's like 6-7 miles long. In the middle of it, you're just like kind of in the middle of the jungle with like no one around, no houses or anything. And he just like fucking appeared on the trail and started following us. And I've had like weird interactions with stray dogs in the past, like where I've been bit and shit. So I was kind of like apprehensive at first. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, you never know.
I get nervous around random stray dogs. But he followed us for long enough, and he showed that he was like super sweet. He was all hot and like thirsty. Gave him some water.
Aww.
And he like didn't leave our side for the whole entire day.
Yeah.
And then eventually it got to the point where we're like, well, we should probably like bring him home.
Yeah. If he was following you that hard and was that thirsty, he probably wasn't taken care of very well, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, he's clearly lost because we weren't near any houses like for like miles. So
probably saved his life.
Yeah, maybe, you know, it's hard to say. He seemed like a pretty he's just like a street dog out there, so he figured it out. They figure their shit out.
That's true. Yeah, I guess all dogs were wild at some point, except for pugs. Pugs definitely never lived in the wild. They would die instantly.
Yeah. French bulldogs, all that shit.
Yeah. He's cute, man. Maybe they'll meet someday.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
Absolutely.
So, thanks for joining the podcast. Been wanting to have you on for a while.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Got projects with other people like Bill, Mr. Bill.
Yep.
He's been on the podcast back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Probably got some mutual homies.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But first question, are you slurking hard or hardly slurking?
It kind of depends. Right now I'm slurking hard. There was a bit of a time period there where I was hardly slurking. You know?
Yeah.
That's life has its up and downs. But lately things have been really, really good.
Good. I actually didn't know what slurking meant, so I was mostly just asking.
Honestly, the word kind of I had a whole phase of like my production was all the beats were like very like off kilter, slurky as we call it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
The only thing my bio on SoundCloud has said for like the last 7-8 years just says steady slurking. Cause like that was like just my whole vibe was just like slurky, laid back, like off grid drums and shit.
Love that.
So I don't know, kind of dumb, but
no, it was funny. I was
it
like,
is what it is.
My girlfriend and I were sitting there, we're like, I don't know what that means. That should be the first question I asked because it was in your Instagram bio.
Yeah,
but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm slurking today. I'm slurking hard, probably.
Yeah, it can mean a number of things, but
yeah.
Originally, it's like tied into like the style of like beat I used to make a lot. I went through a whole several year phase of like where like all the percussion you're hearing in my tracks, aside from maybe the kick and the snare, everything else was like shit I recorded myself. I have like a jar of pencils on my desk or whatever, and I'd like grab a pencil and just start hitting it and just record it.
Yeah.
And, like, bring it into the project and just make it work. And a lot of times it was just very slurky. So.
Love that.
Yeah.
I would say you have a lot of really good textures in your track where I feel like it just creates this kind of environment. It's like almost like ASMR inside of like this track that like flows really well.
Yeah.
Love it.
Big fan of some good textures.
Yeah. I saw Kill Bill, which is you and Mr. Bill at Mission last year.
Oh, with Sodown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
Yeah,
that was my first time seeing you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was dope.
Yeah, that was maybe one of our biggest shows for sure.
Yeah, it was a great time. I feel like the two of you together and individually are like the producer's producer. Very detail-oriented style of music. So it's like fun for, I feel like a lot of people who are into like making music to like listen to all the intricate textures that probably the other like 70% of the people in the room miss.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good point. Especially when we come together and make, like that first Kill Bill EP is fucking crazy. Just so much
stuff
going on, you know?
Yeah.
So it happens when you get like two like hyper nerds together making that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Every song I make like is different than the last. Some days I'm feeling real into the intricate stuff. Some days I'm feeling real simple, like maybe like 6 to 8 elements total.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Kill Bill stuff, it's like there's like hundreds of channels in Ableton, like
just stirring the pot.
Yeah.
Which is dope. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your Chillsmith stuff I really loved. I was listening to it last night with my dog Roscoe. He like fell asleep listening to it. Very good, like
that's
just
nice.
Lay back.
Yeah.
Enjoy some weed with your friends kind of music.
Absolutely. That is kind of the exact vibe there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe for people who don't know you already, like maybe share your backgrounds of like music, your journey, like how you got into Ableton Live eventually.
Okay. Well, I've always loved and appreciated music, especially probably because of my dad. So my dad was a disco DJ back in the 70s.
Oh, nice.
In Norway. He was from Norway, and he was a disco DJ in a like disco club out there in the 70s. So anyways, he's always had a crazy appreciation for lots of music. And so I grew up with that, being around that. So I've always like just music naturally. It's like one of my greatest loves. And then I learned guitar in 7th grade and played in some like shitty metal bands in high school that like weren't very good. But we're having fun is the main point, you know? It's like just the fact that you're doing that and like with your friends, I think is like super valuable experiences to have.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I always loved music, but I always thought it'd be cool to like try to make beats or whatever, or like learn how to scratch on a turntable or whatever. And then one day I was at a house party in college. One of the kids who lived at this house had like a turntable and mixer set up in his bedroom. And I had always, since a kid, thought the whole idea of scratching would be really cool. Wound up spending the entire party in his room doing that, me and my roommate at the time, instead of worrying about the party at all. Within the same like year or two, I went to Red Rocks in 2008 to see Sound Tribe, STS9.
Classic, dude.
Yeah, and that whole experience was just like super inspiring to me. they've always had crazy like support lineups and whatnot. This specific weekend they had Flying Lotus and I mean I hate to say it, but Bass Nectar.
Yeah.
Basically, after seeing all those acts in one night, I was like, holy shit, this is what I want to do for sure. Like I had never heard stuff like that before in my life, you know, and growing up appreciating music and then hearing like Wubs and like, you know, Flying Lotus, like slurky, weird hip hoppy stuff. And then STS9 with their crazy synthy, all that shit. Like the whole culmination of that weekend was, cause I went to both nights. And I think I went and me and my roommate at the time downloaded Ableton that week. And we're like, this is what we're doing now.
Happily ever after.
Yeah. And then, you know, from there, it just kind of exploded into, well, I wouldn't say exploded. It's been a long process, this whole thing.
This episode is sponsored by Baby Audio. They create all kinds of cool instruments and effects plugins. They have a new release called Atoms, which is out now. Atoms is a new kind of synth plugin that uses cutting-edge physical modeling to generate an endless variety of organic and otherworldly sounds. It's a really cool synth. They also make some other really dope plugins. Highly recommend checking them out. Just go to babyaud.io to learn more. And save 15% off any order that you make with the discount code AMP15. That's AMP15, all capital letters. Also, check out a link in the show notes of this episode for more details. Go check out Baby Audio. They make cool stuff. What version of Live was that when you first got into it?
6. Or maybe even 5.
Yeah, that's been a while. That probably would have been like 2000 and...
I pirated 6 for like a few months, and then I discovered that Ableton offers... I don't know if I should have just said that.
Oh, dude, I've heard so many people say that on this podcast. It's fine.
I was like 19 years old, and I just wanted to see what was up with it. So yeah, I pirated Ableton 6, and then shortly thereafter got the college student discount and bought 7.
Yeah.
So the first Ableton I purchased was 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've heard an Ableton brand manager on this podcast say that he first got into it by ripping Ableton, getting a free copy. It's the free extended trial.
Yeah.
But, you know, honestly, I think the company, and from my experience, they're like smart enough to recognize that if anybody's actually serious about making music, they're going to probably get into it. And this is before the free trial too, right? Yeah. So, I mean, they have a free trial now if people want to get into it. But before then, that's a huge commitment, you know, just to drop a couple $100 on something you haven't tried yet. So it's like, it makes sense. And people eventually who are pirating it, I think if they're serious about it, it's going to be more stable. First of all, if they ever want to perform live with it, or if they don't want to crash, or they don't want any kind of issues. Yeah. And the upgrades and everything is more affordable. It makes sense eventually to buy it anyway. So I don't think they're too intense about people doing that.
Right. And because there's just, you know, as we know, just music production, like DAWs in general, it's so much. Like, you never stop learning. Yeah. I've been doing this since 2008, and I'm still learning every day, you know, so. Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't know right off the bat. It's so fucking overwhelming that you're like, well, I want to make sure I actually think this is cool. And I'm into this before I'm going to drop hundreds of dollars, especially when you're like 19, you don't really have your own money yet. So
just chilling with mom and dad.
Yeah. Well, I was in college and I had a job, but you know. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. You're not really, you know, rolling in it in college. Yeah. And if you are, good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good segue into talking about and picking your brain about some of the stuff with your music production. And I'm curious, I'm sure a lot of people listening who follow you are also curious to learn, like, over the years, as like you continue to grow and produce and like learn and fail and learn and make better stuff, like, how has your approach to specifically sound design changed over the years? Because I'd say out of a lot of the people I've listened to or had on the podcast, I'd say, like, whether you believe it or not, I think your sound design is like really strong and you do a lot of really cool processing with your sounds.
Thank you.
So I'd be curious to know, like, looking back at that time, like, what are things that you learned over the years, or would you say are some of the biggest differences?
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty, like, loaded question.
It is.
That's a subject we could talk about for hours on its own.
It'd be 12 podcasts just talking about that.
Yeah. For so long, especially when you're first starting, you're just like, you're just like kind of fucking around. Especially like when I started, there wasn't really tutorials yet.
Yeah.
There were forums where you could go and like ask questions, maybe wait a few days to see if someone answered your question, probably not correctly. And like,
Facts.
like how did this guy make this sound? And then someone would type it out. Like this was before, like maybe there were a handful of like YouTube tutorials. This is like, I think even before Mr. Bill was doing his thing too. It was a lot of just trial and error and just messing around with stuff. And that kind of, I think, led to just more sort of unique methods of doing stuff, where for the longest time, like every time I would approach sound design, it would be different. And for the first many years, like say I was going to make, you know, like a dubstep mid bass wobble, whatever. In the early days, that would have been massive for me. I didn't even really like understand like post processing then. Like it pretty much would just make the wobble or whatever in massive, like try and do as much as I could within there. And then like, that's that. You know, over the years, I started to learn that then adding, you know, plugins, whether it's Ableton native stuff or stuff you bought, saturation, distortion, like, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It took me actually like many years to realize how important that part is, to the point where I kind of went through a heavy phase of making a lot of like Nero type, you know, attempting maybe sort of Cohen soundy type sound design.
Classic.
And like learning that a lot of those sounds literally start as a sine wave, and then it's all based off of all your distortion, compression, all this extra shit afterwards.
Yeah.
That was like a, you know, kind of a big like, whoa, like what have I been doing this whole time? I've actually been saving my patches and instrument racks since 2013.
It's a lot of racks.
Yeah. So like when I go to my, you know, the left tab to like go to instrument racks, I can scroll all the way down and there's shit that I made in 2013, which at that time was probably a lot of kind of like squelchy, tippery type of sounds, you know, but none of them had any post-processing in them. And so over the last, you know, many years, I've actually been dragging some of those old instrument racks I've made and then applying like modern post-processing techniques to it and creating like whole new things with these things. And it's been really cool. Like some of my favorite new sounds were actually like a massive patch I made over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Cause I got really into like movement and like using all the LFOs and envelopes and like ways to like just make these sounds like really evolving and moving.
Yeah.
But with no post-processing, it's kind of like, man, it's a little bit limp. So
Right.
yeah. So that's like one, I guess, sort of thing that, you know, sort of stood out for me is
Processing your stuff more.
processing. Yeah.
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 Yeah. You got to add that sauce.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, anyone who's ever watched like a Cohen sound tutorial or whatever knows like,
These are wild.
You stack and stack and stack, and it's kind of overwhelming. But eventually, just kind of becomes second nature. You're like, this is what I gotta do.
Yeah. I think Frequent said that he's had students ask him a lot, like, how did you make that sound? He's like, oh, I just didn't stop when you did, like, 20 steps ago.
Yeah.
It's like, I just kept going. I just kept frying it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah.
And like, put it into audio, and then just keep doing shit. Yeah, I love messing around with all the different warping modes that Ableton has, you know? Yeah. So, like, say you come up with, like, a bass sound that's, like, good enough, and then put it in audio, maybe try reversing it or, like, changing it to textures and stretching it out and doing all this shit. You just keep going.
Yeah.
There is obviously such thing as overdoing it and over-affecting and processing stuff, but in time, just with, like, years of experience, you kind of learn, like, you just learn how to like fine tune stuff, you know, not overusing each plugin you're adding each time.
Mm-hmm.
The overarching theme here is it's different every time.
Right.
Literally, there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
But you kind of come up with your processes and yeah, I don't know. I'm always trying to like do something different each time.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Are there any like things recently that are pretty standard for you? Like, do you typically have like your subs completely separate from the bass tops or other things? Like,
it depends on how I guess how many plugins or effects might be affecting like the stereo field and whatnot. Because obviously you want to have sub bass as like mono as possible just to stay strong. But then even that said, like I've seen people like, I don't know, Resonant Language and maybe even Frequent say like, no, actually that doesn't fucking matter. Just do what sounds good. That's mostly true, is like, just do what sounds good.
Yeah.
Like train your ears to know what's good. But there is, you got to think about like all the different sound systems your music will be played on, and like, will that translate well at the end of the day or whatever.
Yeah.
But so, okay, when we do Kill Bill stuff, when we make all these mid-bass bass lines, most often like Bill will like to cut the lows out of the mid stuff and like add in a separate sub just so it's strong no matter what. Yeah. I kind of just like, I kind of just get in this like fuck it mode. Like it sounds good, right? So, but yeah, and the way plugins are like advancing these days, like with Current is my new favorite.
Current's dope.
Shout out Minimal Audio.
Yeah, they make great stuff.
They're all like really good friends of mine that I've known for like over a decade.
That's cool.
All their different modules were like, the sub is like has its own, dedicated thing, and it pretty much has like every little option to kind of customize it in that way that you want.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Current is a nice update because that includes a lot of their modules inside of the plugin, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of get an all-in-one solution, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, like all the effects, it's like, it's the Morph EQ, it's Rift, it's all that stuff within there. And it's laid out very similar to Serum, those types of plugins. So it's like,
yeah,
if you understood those ones before, it's easy to jump into Current.
I don't know if you saw, but did you ever play with Trash by Isotope back in the day?
Yeah.
They just released today the new Trash.
Trash 3?
I don't think it's called Trash 3, but it's basically Trash 3.
Oh, reintroducing Trash.
Yeah, they brought it back.
Sick.
It has like an envelope follower and a bunch of new stuff.
Dope. I was randomly scrolling Twitter, and a bunch of people are like, Trash is back.
Yeah.
I used to use Trash a lot. Like,
me too,
all
man.
the time.
Same.
Especially after watching some Noisia tutorials.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like fucking forgot it existed.
Yeah, same. Well, they stopped supporting it like years ago.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a bummer because a lot of new updates and like the M1 chip coming out and stuff, I felt like it wasn't as like stable at times.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that there's a new and improved Trash.
Yeah, there was a handful of the Isotope plugins that no longer work. Not that it really matters because they have kind of replaced other versions. Like, for example, Imager. And one of my main problems is like finishing songs and like calling it done.
And everyone else.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Is that all of our problem?
I think it is. Finishing is hard, man.
That's like the bane of my existence, is like you spend 1,000 hours on one song. You don't ever want to hear this dumbass song ever again, but you don't want all those hours to go to waste and like never release it. That's been like my main problem. Where I'm going with this is like, for example, on a lot of those songs that I'm talking about, like I used Ozone Imager 1, and then that was on like maybe 2 laptops ago, and now I got the M1X, and like every time you open the project, it's like all these plugins are missing, and like so I have to like go to the old laptop, open up the project, open up every channel that has the instance of Imager and like look at the settings and like recreate it in Imager 2 or... Yeah,
that's always fun. Plugin struggles can be real.
Dude.
I mean, that was an issue too. I've been hearing from a lot of people, and I haven't looked into it too much, so I can't speak too intelligently, but there was for whatever reason some broken plugins that shouldn't have been broken with Live 12.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've played with Live 12
yet.
Dude,
yeah, I've only installed it and like opened it for 2 seconds. I tried to open a project that I'm currently working on, and a bunch of the stuff just says it's missing.
Yeah.
Even after it's done the whole scan, because...
Yeah, you gotta go in system preferences and make sure that's all turned on and refresh it.
You're right. It's like all the folders, like VST3, all that shit's like turned on, and it's still not showing up. I'm like, well, great. probably not going to use this for a while.
If you re-download the plugins that it can't find, it actually fixes it to re-download those for whatever reason.
I'm just afraid of fucking with any of that stuff because I keep saying, I've got all these projects that they're like 90% done. I'm just going to finish all those in 11.
I feel that.
Before I even bother. I don't have like time to like do this back and forth and like, I'd be afraid if I did that, then the stuff in 11 like would stop working. And then I'm just like in this purgatory of shit not working. I don't want
that. It's a bad place. You don't want to live there.
Yeah.
No, I haven't had that issue. I did re-download like the 5 plugins that were broken in 12. And then I went back to my 11 projects, didn't have any issues at all.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a VST3 like issue. It was just an update for that plugin for whatever reason.
Okay.
So I don't know. But I haven't had any issues once I re-downloaded those.
I also wonder, because I remember, maybe it's something to do with the M1 chips or something where you have to go into like the get info on Ableton, you know, like when it's like the icon on your desktop or whatever.
I think
and
it's
you need to
an
like
OS
turn on like Rosetta or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, or you can like right click on the program and choose if you want to open it as Intel or a Rosetta,
That was the way to make like most of my plugins work properly.
That could be maybe part of it.
I haven't looked. I've had no time to look into it. I've been like pretty busy with all kinds of other shit. So I'm not even gonna bother like opening and messing around with Ableton 12 until like after my Ogden show. So
congratulations on that. That's gonna be sick.
Thank you.
I would love to be there, but I'll be in Disney World.
Oh,
so I'm not too sad about it, but I will. I'm sure it's gonna be amazing.
I won't hold it against you, man. I love Disney World.
Dude, I'm stoked. I haven't been there since I was 10, and I'm more excited than my nephews probably.
It's sick. I mean, dude, it's sick. They've made it like really cool and fun for adults.
Totally. You can make your own lightsaber now.
What?
Yeah. So I'm about to do that for $200. Worth it.
Yeah.
100%. Take my money.
I feel like that's cheap.
Yeah.
For what it is.
Yeah. I don't know if it actually can cut things, but it still would be pretty cool.
I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Make cool noises when I hit stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet. Yeah, so Ogden, are you pretty involved with like your visuals? I saw you open for Of the Trees at Red Rocks, and then I saw you at Mission. The visuals are pretty dope, especially Red Rocks. That was wild. I don't know how involved you are with.
Well, so I'm good friends with. So at Red Rocks, that was my friend David, Actualized Visuals.
Okay.
You know, pretty much the whole thing is like that's all him, like his ideas, his content, whatever. But we did like discuss the set beforehand. You know, I pretty much gave him the rough draft of the set I'd be playing a few days before so he could, you know, try and cue up everything and just make stuff, you know, more intentional than just like random shit the whole time, you know.
Get a vibe for each track.
Because, I mean, most shows I've played in my career, it's like, there's not, that level of planning isn't involved. It's just kind of like the VJ's just doing what they think is right at the time. Which that works and all. But so with this Ogden show I got coming up on the 29th, it's going to be David again, but also with Stephen Glass Crane. So they call it Actual Crane. And we've already, like a few weeks ago, started talking about ideas just to make it all like as cohesive as possible. They're also helping me with kind of like laying out stage design stuff because I'm going to build a whole crazy custom weird stage. Like, I don't know if you came to my Cervantes headline back.
I missed that one. I've only lived here for like a year and a half.
Okay. So yeah, it was like October of 2022. I built what I called like the post-apocalyptic junkyard. And it was like I built a well, first off, I went around to like a bunch of different junkyards literally and acquired a bunch of junk.
That's amazing.
Trash bullshit.
Probably got a good deal on it.
And some places not really. I wound up spending like several $100s on literal trash. It was so stupid.
Wow.
And then we did find this one junkyard that just let me come in and just start taking shit for free, which that was the gold mine. I'm going to be doing the like 2.0 version of that stage. Like I built the DJ booth to look like a total Frankenstein car. Like I got the hood of an old 240 SX. And like the grill of an old Chevy truck and like all these just car parts and plants and like graffiti walls, and
That sounds awesome.
kind of like whole idea is like you're in like an urban city where it's like post-apocalyptic and nature is taking back over and the plants are like growing all throughout all this stuff.
That sounds like a lot of setup.
It is. It's a lot of work, but people are like, "Why? Like, why? Why'd you do that?" I was like, "I don't know, man.
Why
it's
not?
Cool. No one else is really doing that." And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm also of the standpoint that I am bored by like headliner acts just bringing one big LED screen in. You should be putting in my opinion, you should be putting in a little more effort and thought into like an interactive sort of space, just something to like kind of break free of what's become such a norm, you know?
No, I definitely agree. I mean, the big LED screen is nothing new. Everybody's done it.
Yeah.
And Ogden's is a dope venue too. If you're going to play like a good venue and you're headlining, like definitely put energy and time into the production. It adds like, that's like half the show for a lot of people, especially if you're in the back, like, right? And obviously the music is huge, but like production adds so much.
Yeah. And I don't want to say all that to like take away from what the visual artists do as well, you know, like Tipper events, for example, they just put the DJ table off to the side and it's one big, huge screen so that the visual artists who put in like just as much time as we do with our music stuff to make the most insane shit you've ever seen, they have like a nice proper way to do that. And I respect it. I think that's tight. It's just not personally my style.
Yeah.
So...
No, I mean, I think it's good that you're putting that effort and time into your style. 'Cause at the end of the day, I mean, it's going to be unique to you, and people are going to love that. It's you're creating an experience, right?
Yeah, I just like weird shit, stuff that makes people be like, what? Like, what?
So maybe get a tetanus shot when you're setting up and tearing down with all that junk from the scrapyard.
Literally. I just got a tetanus shot a few weeks ago, so I'm good.
Oh, you're good, dude. Yeah. Awesome. Well, back to like Ableton Live stuff. I'd be curious, like if you were stranded on a desert island and you could only use one synth, one MIDI effect, and one audio effect in live, what would it be?
Oh, like native live?
Yeah, like a native thing.
Okay, the synth would be operator.
Fair.
For sure.
Makes sense.
A lot of my sound design you've heard in my music, especially when it comes to bass sounds, and especially those more like kind of harmonic sort of dubstep wompy basses, like that's all mostly with operator.
Yeah.
Effect would probably be multi-band compression, but you know, in OTT.
Yep.
Because OTT isn't the effect; that's just a setting in in multi-band. But that would be, I mean,
yeah.
I know it's kind of a cop out, but it really does like so much.
It really does.
Yeah, and that was another, like what I was saying earlier, when I like would drag in my old instrument racks from like 2013 and just slap like one or two OTTs on it. All of a sudden it's like, oh, it's got all this juice now.
Yeah.
Which, you know, can be, I guess, replicated in other ways. Yeah.
I like in 12 how they opened up the views.
Are you in 12 right now?
Yeah, this is 12. So they used to have the little like TBA tabs in the bottom right.
Yeah.
And now they just opened that up, which makes sense to me. A lot of people didn't even know that was there if they didn't play with it that much. So now it's just all here and it's just easier to see.
Yeah, I don't play with those settings all that much. Maybe a little bit here and there, but
yeah.
I put the amount to like 40 or 50 and then you crank the output. And I always crank it into a limiter. Glue compression on soft clip.
Yeah, glue on soft clip is nice.
That's like, it's cleaner than the Ableton stock limiter.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of the stock limiter in Ableton. I'm surprised they haven't updated that by now.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever used it once. Or like I tried and I was like, this sounds like shit.
Have you played with the... Yeah, no. I've heard that from quite a few people, honestly.
The soft clip mode of glue compressor or saturator sounds much better.
Have you played with the color limiter?
No, I haven't.
This is like, I actually really...
Is that new in 12?
This is not new in 12. This is part of the Creative Extensions pack, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which you should have.
I have like the suite.
Yeah, I believe it's included in suite. Yeah, the Creative Extensions, I believe, is the pack. Yeah, it is in there. This thing is really dope. I actually love this thing, and you can get stuff pretty loud. It adds some grit to it, so you can add some saturation. I don't usually use too much.
Wait, I feel like I would really like this.
Yeah, it's nice, man. It's kind of like a happy middle between saturator and the OTT.
Damn. Yeah, one thing about me is like, I've gotten comfortable with all the tools, a lot of the tools that like I've just kind of used this whole time. Sometimes, I guess to my detriment, it's like I kind of get like tunnel vision and don't notice the new stuff that's around, or like all these new plugins or whatever that like are now available.
That could be a black hole too, because like if you're doing stuff that works, like you can get distracted too and then never finish anything because you're just like playing with new shiny toys.
Yeah, which I mean, it's good to have those days though.
It's true.
We can't just like stay in the past forever.
Right.
Like things are only going to keep evolving and evolving. Like that's like the age we live in. So you might as well like take the time to start learning all the new shit that's available. I don't want to be like that old fucking guy that's like, what is this color limiter? I only like glue compressor. Get out of here. Like that's lame. It's lame to be that way. So
yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that guy.
I'm going to go after this, go see what's up with this thing.
It's good times. Yeah. I like color limiter. I don't use it all the time, but
yeah.
Are there any like new studio toys or plugins, could be plugins or gear that you've discovered?
Well, in 2018, I got some I got the Make Noise No Coast, like the Zero Coast thing.
Not familiar.
It's like a semi-modular analog synth that like it can be part of like a whole Euro rack setup, or you can kind of just use it on its own. You don't need.
Oh, sick! Yeah.
Yeah, like you can send MIDI to it. And I've made a lot of really cool sounds with that for a while. I also got the Make Noise Strega. I feel like I spent a whole day with the Strega and was like not as inspired by it than the No Coast. I know they're different.
So this is the No Coast.
Yeah.
That looks fun.
Yeah, and Make Noise is kind of weird with their like, and like a little unorthodox with what they call things and how everything works. But it's just one of those things where it's like, it comes with some patch cables and you just sit there and you just fuck around. And
patch until you find something fun.
Yeah. And you can also send MIDI into it. So I have my No Coast set up where I have a Korg mini log.
Oh, those are nice. Yeah, I like those.
So I have the MIDI from the Korg Minilog keys going into the No Coast, and then the audio from the No Coast going back into the Minilog. So then I can actually use all the like ADSR and filter and everything from the Minilog.
Oh, that's
and then
cool.
I can even like couple the, because then that's like 2 more oscillators I can add over. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I back through like maybe 2018 to 2021, I was using that combo like pretty heavily.
That's fun. Yeah, I've talked to a couple of people who really love this mini log. I've never played with it.
It's great, man. Yeah, I mean, it was only $500 when I got mine, and now they have the mini log too. They might even have another one. I'm just like, I guess I could be better at like paying attention to like the new stuff that's coming out, like we were just talking about. But.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem too. Is there's always new stuff coming out, and then you're just broke all the time.
Right. No, getting into synths, especially hard synths.
Yeah,
is
it's a drug.
Not cheap.
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah,
it's really fucking expensive.
A lot of people are selling their cars so they can just buy another modular.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah, dude.
Have you heard of the performance pack in Live 12?
Not yet.
It comes with multiple devices, so it has, it's a Max for Live thing. It's a native pack though, so it's supported by Ableton. It comes with 12 Suite.
Okay.
But they have something called Performer, which somebody who's got that set up with that mini log and other stuff, you might actually really like this because you can custom map pretty much anything. You can create your own custom controller and send CV out with those knobs. 8 CV outputs. You can create all these different custom controls. You got like a fader slider. Yeah, and then you can MIDI map these buttons. So it's got like a temporary hold button. And then you can set up the routing. So you could MIDI map to any controller or MIDI controller you have, or in Ableton map this control and send CV out to whatever you want. It also has a MIDI out as well. And macro editor, you can create your own custom curves for each knob. So for Control 2, for example, you could create like a custom curve. And then you can map, see how it's, now as I'm moving that, it's like showing you that curve. And it comes with a bunch of like presets of curves. And then you can create up to 8 mappings per control up here. So you can custom map your entire studio setup, save this performer, pull it up, map whatever you want in your studio, ins and outs basically to these knobs that you customize. It's like a virtual MIDI controller basically that you're making for yourself to route in and out of your studio with hardware or whatever.
Damn, that's cool.
And you can map these also. So like at some point you're like, I actually want this control to be controlling whatever, like say I already have the OTT, the amount of this. So I can click that, click map, and then I can map that to the amount here. Mm-hmm. So now that control is actually mapped to that OTT there as well.
Cool.
So there's so many possibilities with it, with like external hardware or mapping.
And then I assume you like assign each one of those to like, just say like the knob on your MIDI controller. Yeah.
Yep. You can just MIDI map any of these controls right here to something.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There you go.
So it opens up a whole world of possibilities for like creating a custom virtual MIDI controller to map stuff inside your project if you want to do like automation or whatever, or outside your project with hardware with these CV outs and the MIDI out.
That's cool, man. This is something I definitely would have been like all about when I was kind of more into, like I used to perform with stuff in stems, you know, where it'd all be separated, drums, bass, synths, all that, you know, and then would have like effects racks on each one to do stuff like.
Yeah.
I haven't really done that in a long time. I more so just produce complete tracks and I DJ with CDJs.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that one day I might want to kind of switch back to a more live situation.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it obviously like that is, I think someone who can successfully do like more live performing, it's, you know, that's interesting and cool. It's kind of funny in a way, you know, to produce a whole track and then go and play it on CDJs. It's not like you're, you know, say you're in a band and you're all having to perform your part. But I don't think that's like a bad thing.
Yeah.
And not everyone who tries to do the like live electronic shit does it well.
Yeah.
Some wonky stuff out there, but there's also some really sick shit.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of time.
It does.
It's very time consuming to like nail down being able to use something like that.
100%.
And have it actually sound good too, like mix wise.
It's so much more work to do a performance in Ableton Live with all that stem bouncing and everything else. Right. So I totally get why people like CDJs. It's convenient.
Yeah. This is a preference thing.
It's a preference thing. Like, I see why people do like to have that control on stage and want to put the more time and work into it, which I started doing that, and now I'm kind of moving more into the CDJ route. Yeah. Just because it's honestly faster and easier, and I can focus more on just cranking out more tracks rather than having to stem everything. And
yeah, totally. And also, like, if you're playing other people's tracks at all.
Yeah.
I started DJing and producing at the same time, and I love the art of DJing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just all about producing. I get a real kick out of, like, you know, finding cool mixes and stuff.
Yeah.
And there are ways to be using the CDJs and whatnot, like in not just its most simple form.
Totally.
You know, a lot of times I've got like 3 up to 4 fucking things going on, and I'm like, oh God, you know.
Yeah. To be honest with you, it's funny. Like, I went to a party and people were DJing, and everybody's like, Dan's a certified trainer in Ableton. He's going to be a great DJ. And they like threw me on the decks, and it was so bad. Like, I was embarrassed myself the whole time because I was like, I've always performed in live. I really hadn't spent much time up until that point, like mixing on decks. And so I was like, everybody's like, okay, we're gonna take over now. You can go sit down or have a drink. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, I only made that switch in like 2020 or 19 or 20.
Was it for the convenience factor or
convenience?
Is it like...
And yeah, I mean, it's nice to just rock up to a gig with your flash drive.
Yeah.
And also not have to carry around a big heavy MIDI controller everywhere.
laptop and all the things.
I still always have my laptop just because I'm always like, just in case, like, what if I plug in and it's like my drive is corrupted or whatever.
Oh, dude.
That, and I'm like usually working on stuff till like the last minute. So
yeah. Do you know Copycat Andre?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I was chilling with him in the green room, and like literally down to like maybe 10 minutes before he was going up, he was just like bouncing down all these mixes and sub mixes.
I've been there 1,000 times.
It's like, respect that hustle.
It's a hustle / it also comes from procrastination.
Definitely both, maybe.
I'll be real with the audience. It's a lot of times it is because you just didn't do that work like the fucking weeks leading up to it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. But it always winds up working out.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah.
So here's another question. Are there any Ableton Live feature requests that you wish were a thing?
I don't know if this really counts, but wait, have they fixed the pitch bend thing yet?
What pitch bend thing?
Like if you say you hit stop and a MIDI clip is in the middle of a pitch bend.
Oh, no.
And it won't. Yeah. I've heard that it's like buried so deep in the code somewhere that they don't even know where to find it. Yeah.
I just was in 12 the other day and I had that issue.
It's been an issue this entire time. And it's like a lot of us, it's like all we ask for. Like, please fix that. Yeah. Because it's just so fucking annoying.
I did see that, yeah. And with that too, similarly, like if you have a MIDI note and it just happens to be like a little bit before the start marker, supposedly they fixed that where it actually will pick up and play it if it's off like that.
Yeah. I mean, it also has gotten to the point where you can even be halfway through that note and hit play, and it should. Yeah. But it kind of depends on what's going on in the synth, too, or whatever you're using. Yeah. Because if it's like a third-party synth, it might like be like re-triggering it from the beginning. Yeah. Even though you're already halfway through the clip or whatever.
That's a good point.
Yeah. But it's still better than zero sound coming out when you are trying to do that. Mm-hmm. Back to your question, what features would I like to see? Yeah. I guess that's a tough question to answer, especially because I haven't like taken a good tour through 12 yet. So maybe some of the things I could think of like are a thing in there, you know?
There's a lot of things in there. Yeah. There really are.
Like I said, I have it downloaded and I opened it up one day and I was just like, oh shit, I don't have time for this right now.
Yeah. Yeah, the MIDI clip looks so different.
Yeah,
like,
really?
I mean, it's like they have the generative and transformation tools now.
What is that?
So, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there, but these are the transformation tools where it has an arpeggiator built into the clip that actually generates. So if you hit transform and it's turned on, if you start like changing steps and stuff, it's actually generating notes for you. Whoa. Which is really nice because it's printed, right? You don't have to create a new MIDI track and then like route into it to create notes.
Does it do the same thing with chord?
They've got something for chord. They've got like a quantized thing. They have a time warp. The strum is really cool. So if you like highlight certain notes, you can actually strum them. See how it offsets them?
Oh, yeah. Because, that's always a thing I'm doing by hand.
You can do that kind of thing, which is really beautiful. Yeah, strum was a nice one. There's a lot in here, dude. Honestly, at first I wasn't happy. I was like, damn, I've got to learn all this new stuff. But there's going to be a lot of shortcuts in here. They've got stacks, which is for your chords. So you can see the shapes of these are going to like change the octave. You can like change the chord pattern, like changing it like a fifth or third or whatever you want. Change up the root notes. So now you can just create all these like quick inversions.
Oh, man.
You can actually create multiple stacks. See, now it's creating...
Whoa.
You can create like up to 4, it looks like, in a sequence. So you can create a chord sequence really fast and then highlight and change that. See, that's jumping.
This is so sick. I'm definitely going to be using this because this is something I've always... So I guess... Yeah. Because I used to use just the chord MIDI effect all the time. Yeah. But then it's like that's only showing up as one note, and it's up to the actual effect to play those extra notes that you're stacking.
Yep.
So the fact that you can do that now within the clip, that's so sick.
And the scale awareness thing actually works with chord pitch. There's a couple different devices that are scale aware now. So if you turn on this little button, it'll lock it into current scale. So as you start shifting things, it'll always jump to the nearest semitone or the scale degree. So that's why it says SD now.
Well, does it let you choose what scale you're in?
Yep. So up here at the top, you choose, I want to be in D minor. And then now it's going to always stay in that degree of the scale. It'll always stay locked in and never go out of key. And then it also has a learn function. So if you turn on learn and you're like playing into this MIDI track, it'll actually learn what key you're in. If you want and learn like the nearest notes, and then it'll adapt to that.
This is going to be great for creating, especially for people who don't have a whole lot of like music theory knowledge, which I'll admit is I'm one of those people.
Me too.
Like I've gone through phases where I studied it a lot, and it's one of those things like learning a second language. If you don't use it, you lose it. Like knowing like, oh yeah, this, if I want to do, an inverted ninth and whatever, scale, like I could not tell you that. And so that's going to be really helpful.
Yeah, I think it's cool for people who don't have music theory like that just want to start creating random ideas, but it's also good for, I think, happy accidents, even for like composers who really know what they're doing, just to be able to generate new ideas out of nothing. Yeah,
because there is a thing of like where you do know so much that you like wind up kind of doing that thing, or like your brain's not allowing you to kind of break the rules a little bit.
Yep.
Where, I mean, I have a friend who is like a piano virtuoso. He has a lot of music theory knowledge, and he would like stress the importance to me of breaking the rules. Mm-hmm. He's like, yes, there's all these rules, and like, I can be pretty rigid with that shit, but it's all about breaking them too.
Yeah.
Just to create new things.
For sure. Yeah. In the end of the day, I don't think there really are too many rules.
Yeah.
Especially with music and any creative something. Like Bob Ross.
Right. Happy accidents.
Happy accidents. Mm-hmm. Shout out Bob Ross. R.I.P.
Beat the devil out of it.
That's right. Well, so any other like advice you might give to upcoming artists, or like some advice you would have given yourself, maybe for people listening who like love your music and they're like, man, I want to grow up and be Kris someday. Like, what advice would you give to yourself back in the day, starting out with producing and on the path you're on?
I think the number one thing after years and years of doing this is kind of like what I was talking about earlier, is finish the songs and put them out. So many projects of mine, like I consider to be 85 to 95% done, but since I've heard it so many times, I don't want to hear it anymore. And I wind up never fully finishing it. And then like a couple years will go by and I'll be like, oh shit, like that's still a good song. And maybe 2-3 years later, I'll listen to it and be like, it was always just done. It was done. You don't always have to like keep going. Obviously there are certain little aspects of stuff where you're like, yeah, that's incomplete. But more often than not, the song was always done. And then if I had just exported it and released it, I could live without that guilt of like not finishing and releasing music in general. Because I mean,
yeah,
we're doing it. Well, everyone's doing this kind of for different reasons, but for me, it's like I've created a career out of it, and in order for someone pursuing a music career to sustain themselves and stay relevant and whatnot, you have to put music out.
Yeah.
The people want to have access to the music you've made, and if you sit there and hoard it forever, whether it's intentional or not, like that's just going to hinder you. And so that's something I've been having to train myself to get better at, and it's something I wish I would have known a long, long time ago. Especially actually after watching years go by that I just haven't like put anything out. And like watching how that affects my like standings in the fucking political scene, like,
yeah,
it's a thing you got to think about.
Yeah.
So Number one thing is like just finish the song and release it. If that is like the kind of goal you have.
Yeah. I think it's hard because like everybody is usually their biggest critic. I feel like when it comes to that, is like finishing and releasing.
Yeah.
It's like it can feel like a very vulnerable part of you you're putting out there, right?
Absolutely. And
especially
of course,
starting out.
And you want every new song you put out to be like better than the last, right? You don't want people to think that you're like digressing or whatever.
Yeah.
Which also like fucking whatever. That's another one. It's like don't care so much about what people think.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, who are you doing this for? And I mean, yeah, I do this for me, but it is also my job.
Right.
It is how I pay my bills. So my bills don't get paid if my audience isn't into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
point, I'd say there's a pretty good amount of people that are into what you're doing, regardless of you thinking your next release is perfect or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So it's just kind of just trust in the process. I think a lot of people would agree and have probably noticed like how kind of, especially over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, like how little music I've actually put out. But that was also kind of due to just like ups and downs in life and like depression and shit and just not really feeling on top of my game, you know? So I've been really trying to put in the work to like get back to like a happy mental state and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
I'm feeling like much more confident and like ready to start dumping out all this music I've been hoarding to kind of get back to the state I was in when I was like really excited about this. You know, I kind of got a little jaded for a while there. I know it's a little bit of a cop out, but like the pandemic really fucked me up. It really like fucked up my motivation, learning how quickly the arts and the music can just be completely cut out. When like a global crisis like that happens was like a real eye opener, and I was just like, holy shit, like we're just trash to the people at the top, and that fucked with my mental state for like a long time. So, you know, in turn, like my musical output and whatnot. But
yeah,
like I said, I've been putting in the work lately, going to therapy, working out, just great. Like fucking trying to get back to old excited Kris, you know? Yeah. And not be this jaded shitbag.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes it's okay to be a jaded shitbag. It's okay to let yourself feel that way. I know a lot of artists, I think, for whatever reason, struggle with depression or anxiety. Like, I feel like there's a real correlation between people who are really super creative and talented like yourself, who also deal with, like, their own internal like demons or whatever, and especially when you're releasing stuff all the time, like getting constant feedback and be like making a post and be like, why didn't that not get as many likes or follows as the last post? Like that's a real mental stamina that I think artists have to like really deal with, whether they want it or not, you know? Yeah. And it's a lot of people.
It's pretty taxing on the brain, kind of relying on the public's opinion or whatever to kind of discern your self-worth.
Yeah.
Like that sucks ass.
It can feel like that.
Yeah, which maybe it's not actually always like that, but there is a certain level of, you know, you're an artist putting out art for people to consume. If they don't like it, then you're not like really being successful or like, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can kind of be that cut and dry.
It does, yeah.
So that just puts a lot of pressure on any artist in any field, really.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, facts.
You know, it's different than having like an objective like 9 to 5 where like, okay, I'm showing up to work to sell this product or whatever, like working in retail or some shit. It's like, it instead is it's like, it's all up to you. You're your own boss.
Right.
And so it's like really easy to kind of get down on yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
So big ups to anyone who's able to, you know, do this successfully and like maintain a good mental state about it.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Self-care can never be, I feel like, overrated.
No.
Sure.
I'm learning that as of this last year.
Yeah.
Like it really,
me too, man. You
gotta fucking take care of yourself. Give yourself a break if you need, you know.
Yeah.
All that good
100%.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I've been going to therapy as of the last couple of months, and it's been awesome. Like, it's definitely been
it's helped.
Life-changing in a lot of ways. And having Roscoe, my dog, like he's probably the best therapist I have, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to love you like that when you walk through the door.
No, totally.
You know?
Absolutely.
Little furry butt is just wagging.
Yeah. Yeah.
The best.
Absolutely.
The best.
Yeah.
Well, I want to respect your time, dude. We've been going at it for a little while.
You're all good.
Congrats on the headline show in Ogden, man. Like, I really wish I could be there, but I'll say hi to Mickey for you. And
oh, yeah, please.
Disney World.
Yeah. And Goofy.
Yeah,
That's
Goofy.
my dog.
Yeah, a Goofy movie.
Dude, a Goofy movie.
That was one of the best movies of all time, man.
Powerline.
Yes.
I feel like that might have been kind of one of the first inspirations to go like be like a music star. Powerline and Goofy movie.
Yeah, dude, it's one of the greatest songs ever. Yeah, we should like play that as we exit this episode.
We should. I'm here for it. It's been so long since I've watched that.
No, for real. That was a throwback, man.
I had to watch that before bed tonight.
It was real inspiring. So I had one more question. Like any funny, weird, or inspiring live moments or on tour that stands out? Like it could be funny, it could be weird.
There's been so many.
Yeah.
You know that it's like hard to specifically pick one out right now. So much of my like touring life, which has been since 2011, has just kind of fucking melted together.
I bet.
But okay, actually I can think of one. This is pretty random, but
perfect.
I think it was maybe 2012 or 13. I had a project called Two Nuts, Atomic Reactor. David Holsapple, he's like really into making jewelry and stuff these days, but he's recently been getting back into production and stuff. We made like pretty like just ADD, cracky, wild glitch hop stuff.
Awesome.
That's just like dude. Like,
I love it.
Listening back onto it nowadays, I'm like, oh my god, this is too much. So we played a show in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, up north, like almost right by Fargo, kind of. I mean, to me, that's like some middle of nowhere shit right there. And we got booked for the most money we've ever been paid at the time, too. Basically, it's this like big old pizza place called Zorba's, where the crowd is just kind of, you know, good old timey fucking just regular people who aren't really into electronic music and stuff. And they would do a weekly show where they'd always have a DJ, but the DJ'd be more in line with like a wedding DJ or something. Where
it's like a background thing.
Yeah, and they're playing like top 40s hits that like everyone likes. It's easy.
Yeah.
So when we come in and we're playing this fucking wild and crazy glitch hop stuff, we started to like legitimately piss off these kids. All these like big fucking like
down home, like
down
small
home
time.
Yeah, like I have all these words I want to use, but I don't want to be like
offensive.
I don't want to be
it's
like
fine.
Just kind of hick-ass motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And like girls kept coming up and requesting like, you got any like, you know,
Shania Twain.
Yeah, no, Shania Twain was literally what that was the request we got that like really stuck out. And we were just like, first off, we don't take the requests. Secondly, what the fuck? We're like playing in Ableton, so we've only got like specific music in here. But it was the type of like weekly event where the DJ would make the girls happy and the guys would just go up there like, you know, pick up on happy girls. Right. So we're pissing off all these girls playing music that they hate. And then the guys are getting all pissed. Dave, like, we're in the bathroom. We can overhear these dudes being like, man, what the fuck are these guys doing out there? Like, how are we supposed to get laid tonight? Like, all these girls are mad. And then it got to the point where we just, like, they kept requesting and we kept being like, no. And then, like, we could tell, like, in the back of the room, like, this gang of dudes was, like, pretty much going to get ready to accost us.
Wow.
Like, as we were going to leave.
Wow.
And so we had to, like, sneak through the back doors, like, straight into our manager at the time, straight into his car and, like, drive away. So we didn't, like, get our asses kicked for playing a bunch of annoying glitch hop and pissing off the girls.
So my favorite part is that you guys were unaware of the environment before you went there. Like,
Yeah,
you
not
just
a clue.
Had no idea.
Yeah, so we're just doing our thing.
Yeah.
Which, was nerdy, weird little glitch hop stuff in a town where they probably never even remotely heard of anything like that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Did you get paid, though?
Yeah, at the time, it was the most we'd ever been paid.
Hey, there you go, man.
Yeah, that was the other weird fucking part about it.
You got paid the most, but you risked it all. High risk gig.
So that was back in the days before electronic music got like basically mainstream popular. We were kind of having to like pave these little paths, almost get our asses kicked just to like go do our thing, which we were passionate about.
Honestly, you did them a favor. You brought some new culture into their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt they see it that way.
Probably not.
But it's okay.
That's okay. It's good for them.
Yeah.
We know it's true.
Now they're all...
That's amazing, though. You should change, like, your alias or your name and, like, go back to that same place and do it again. Yeah. Just to, like, see if anybody, like, recognized it or not.
I doubt it. I mean, this was, like, this was over 10 years ago. Yeah.
Just, like, advertise yourself as some, like folk country artist and then just show up and just play some, like... your heaviest like Kill Bill music.
Well, I bet you those kids, whoever the kids are there now, they probably like rhythm and shit.
That's true. They probably country rhythm is a thing now.
Oh my god.
So
when it comes to the more niche, weird, glitch hoppy, underground stuff. Yeah. Anyways, so we almost got our asses beat for like playing our unique, weird glitch hop stuff.
Yeah, but you did you, and that's what matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was always a funny story.
That's amazing. So, last but not least, any upcoming projects you want to share with people?
Obviously, I'm headlining the Ogden Theater on March 29th, and I will have DMVU, who's a Denver local fucking legend.
Yes, he's good.
Yeah, he's literally one of my favorite producers of all time.
He's awesome.
Anna Morgan, Hypho, who's like UK dubstep, UKG kind of producer. And then I just picked a winner for, I hosted a producer contest.
Saw that. To
be the opening act, McKaylee. I believe he's from New York. If I'm wrong, sorry. Yeah, it's going to be insane. We're bringing a whole full Hennessy rig.
Nice.
For that.
That'll be nice.
With Unify sound. That's going to be my biggest headline to date. And it's actually, the Ogden Theater is the first place I ever played music for strangers back in high school.
Really?
Remember at the beginning of this interview, I was talking about how I was in like some shitty bands in high school. Like we entered a battle of the bands that took place at the Ogden Theater.
Oh, nice.
This was like 2005.
Yeah. It's coming full
First
circle.
time I ever got on a stage and like played guitar in front of people. So yeah,
that's nostalgic.
Yeah, it's a big kind of cool full circle moment about to happen. Man. Yeah,
love that.
Yeah, I have like 9 shows in April. I'm not gonna sit here and list them all off, but
it's okay.
I got a lot coming up, but I'm in a little bit of a lull right now because I'm just trying to work nonstop on the Ogden Theater.
For sure, that's a big one, and I love that theater. It's a great place. Well, congrats, man. That's going to be fun.
Appreciate it.
Looking forward to hearing some new future tunes as well, I imagine.
Yeah, I've definitely got a bunch of tunes on the way.
Yes.
This, like I was saying earlier, like I got really bad at putting out music, and I'm sure all my friends have noticed that, but I promise that this year is going to be different. I put out 2 new songs in the last like month and a half, and I've got just a bunch more to keep coming. All year, and hopefully just beyond this year.
Yeah, you've got G-Wagon coming out March 22nd.
Oh wait, yeah.
That's why we scheduled this podcast. Like we're actually we rearranged it so we could release this episode before that happened.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. That's probably my most popular song, and it's not even released because like I gave it to a bunch of my producer homies that have kind of rinsed it out. I made it over 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I gave it to Of the Trees and Easy Baked and like a bunch of homies, and they've all like played it a million fucking times. Yeah. And it's like I said, it's my most popular track. It's not even released. Anyways, it's finally coming out on March 22nd, and it's going to include a like 4 on the floor VIP version of it as well.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So finally, to all my fans who've been waiting for that one. That's coming out.
Sick.
And then just, periodically, hopefully my goal is like every couple weeks or so, just keep on just dumping out tunes.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's ambitious, but
yeah. Well, I've got a lot.
Yeah.
That I've been kind of seeing a lot of like flips and bootlegs and stuff.
Yeah.
That'll have to be SoundCloud, like not Spotify.
Right.
But I've also got a bunch of original stuff that I'm trying to get together and out to the public.
Stoked for it, man.
Yeah.
Love your music. Love what you're doing. I'll be there in spirit for the Ogden show.
Right on, man.
But dude, thanks for joining the podcast again.
Yeah.
It's been awesome having you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Maybe we'll have you back in the future sometime.
Yeah, I'd be super down.
Hell yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
All right. Well, bye, people. Make sure you go follow Killsmith, a.k.a. Kris. We'll include links in the show notes, so make sure you tap all of those and give them a follow.
All right. Thank y'all.
Sweet. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Sick. Wait, Goofy movie song.
Oh, yeah, dude. Goofy movie song. We almost forgot.
Yeah.
Damn.
Fuck yeah.
What a banger.
Dude, for real. 1995.
Never gets old. They don't make them like this anymore, kids.
I don't remember this at all. Oh. Maybe it's time to make a bootleg of this.
Honestly, people would lose their shit if you remix this. Yeah, 100%. Or it could be maybe
House.
Like house. It's like 125.
Or UKG, because that's finally cool to the people these days. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. What a banger, dude. What a banger. Oh, please remix this.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll go home and do that right now.
Yeah, you really should. Yeah. Do you ever use like stemming stuff to like pull out stems?
Yeah, stem roller is at least the one I use.
I've never heard of stem roller.
Bill showed it to me. It splits thing. It like uses the YouTube database, or you can drag files into it. So if you like have the wave, it's free.
I love that.
And it splits it into an instrumental and an acapella, and then it also goes to drums, bass, what they call other, which is like the synths and melodies and shit.
Nice, dude. I'm gonna save that.
Yeah.
Because I was using Lol. It's fun to say. LALLAL.ai.
Yeah. I think there's a number of these things out there now. They all kind of use AI
Very
to
similar.
strip. This is just the one I have, and it doesn't nail it every time, but a lot of times it's like capturing like the reverb in the vocals and the tails of the snares and shit and the drums, which is you'd think would be so easily lost in all the other, like in the rest of the mix. It's
really impressive that they're able to pull that out.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's still pretty new tech, right? Like a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see even in 5 years how much tighter it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it looks like it's an app too. You can download it.
Yeah, it is an app. So it's like not an online thing. Well, it uses an online database. Like you search whatever you want. But like I said, you can also like, if you have like the wave file of the song, you can just drag it in. Okay. Yeah. Sick, dude. Well, I'm going to hit stop now, but that was a nice little extra outro. Yeah. Cheers. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Do me a huge favor, hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening. If you don't hate the podcast, please leave a 5-star review. It would be really helpful to me. If you want to be the first to get new episodes, the latest updates, maybe some free sound libraries or packs or whatever, join the newsletter. Just go to liveproducersonline.com/newsletter or check out the link in the show notes. If you didn't know, you could actually leave your thoughts on this podcast episode and other episodes on Spotify. Just leave a quick comment, let me know what you think, and I will do my best to make this podcast even more awesome. Don't forget to give this guest a follow on the socials, give him some love. Last but not least, I want to give a huge thank you to KMG Life Studios in Denver, Colorado for letting us use their space
And yeah, they also have some really cool Ableton Live training, lots of good stuff. So check them out. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. We'll see you next time.